Well, have you ever wondered, who is the author with the most sold books of all time? Would it surprise you it was somebody writing mystery and crime novels? Probably shouldn't, considering the type of television people watch today. Dubbed the Queen of Crime, now trademarked by her estate, and the Queen of Mystery, today we will talk about the person who sold more books in the billions and a household name to many, even if they never read one of her books. Today we're going to talk about Agatha Christie. Hello and welcome back to the library. And before we get lost amongst the stacks, I want to introduce my guest today. He's back, baby, Mr. Vernacular Spectacular himself, Davis Peck. How's it going, Davis?
Oh, it's going well. It's good to be here. Still recovering from the weekend, but you'll have that.
Yes, and just got to shake it off. And we're not talking just about partying here. Rough rugby weekend for you. Mm-hmm. Wish I could have made it. Well, I got this topic from somebody else, the book Baroness. Sorry, Teresa, but it's literally been 6 months since I wrote this. I wrote this on the 4th of July, and, things come and go, and I just can't hold on to this script forever because, honestly, I don't write enough scripts, and secondly, the jokes are going to fall flat, and I haven't read the script since. So, we're just kind of, as the kids say, raw dogging it, Davis.
Oh, I can't wait.
Again, raw dogging meant to something very different when we grew up.
Did it?
Yeah, it did. At least the context, kind of the same. So, I don't really know. I didn't know much about this topic. I did get to read at least one of her books since. I'm starting to read another one, and I think it fits the overall vibe of mystery and crime with the October feel, right?
The oeuvre.
Yeah, the oeuvre. We've already done R.L. Stein. I think I'm going to do at least one more really fun Halloween-based one, and then try to pivot from there because realistically, that's not my forte. But before we get started, do you know anything about Agatha Christie?
No, just that she's sort of the matron of mystery novels.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the best ways to put it. So Agatha Mary Clarissa Miller was born on September 15th, 1890. She was born into the upper middle class in a town called Torquay, Torquay. So I think it's Torquay, which is located in Devon, England, which is in the southwest corner of the island of England, or Great Britain, excuse me. Torquay, then and now, which I'm going to continue pronouncing that until I get hate mail, personally. And it has to be mailed. You have to find my address, find it, and send dirty letters to me, and it has to be hateful, dirty letters. Torquay, then and now, is a popular tourist destination, and a lot of its economy today is tourism because it's on the sea near the English Channel, or Chanel. It's Chanel, right? That's how you pronounce it?
Yeah, it's Chanel.
It's Chanel.
The English Coco Chanel.
It's Coco English Chanel. Okay. Yeah. To put it in perspective, it's probably one of the few warm bodies in England where you can be, realistically. And also, it's about where she lived. To put in perspective about where she lived in her early childhood, the villa they lived in had a name. Asheville.
Ooh.
Not the one that's found in Tennessee or North Carolina. Though I can imagine that accent is pretty similar.
Yeah. It's a little more country than you'd expect.
Absolutely.
I can't imagine Agatha Christie walking around with a heavy Cornwall accent.
No, I mean it's barely not in Cornwall. That's what I kept trying to make Cornwall jokes when I was writing this script. I remember that, but I think it's not the Cornish. But
you got yourself a fair old mystery here.
Where'd the Canadian come out? Can you do a Southern accent?
No, I can't.
You didn't. You never had ringworm. Okay.
Nope.
I don't know if this is more common in England, but if you name your house in America, you're probably incredibly wealthy and certainly a pompous fuck. That is a faux pas on this side of the fucking pond that is the Atlantic Ocean. I don't know if you heard the conspiracy theory I'm starting with Big Mac or Book Mac Daddy himself. I don't believe in oceans. They're all just giant ponds and aren't continents, just small little islands of themselves.
Yeah, no, I'm here for it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the scientists were wrong.
Not even
that.
islands. I bet you they're turtles.
We're just on one giant master. What was that Japanese manga that was like the Turtle Island? I don't know.
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
All right, now I'm thinking
manga wasn't my.
It was a manga and it was a movie. I don't know. I don't know. Now I'm thinking Turtle Island, Gary Snyder, and we're completely off topic.
Oh no, I got turtle soup stuck in my head.
It shouldn't be in your teeth at least. Turtle soup. You're cooking it wrong. Her father was a wealthy American, so she's American descent. named Frederick Miller, and her mother was Clara Miller. Now, this is a simplified version because her family history is interesting enough to talk about. So let's. Clara, so Agatha's mum, was born in Dublin in 1854. No, she's not Irish, because her father was a British officer in Ireland in the middle of the century, and she was born basically right at the tail end of what we call the Irish potato famine.
Yep. Any Hellfire Club connections?
I don't know. I don't think so. But I couldn't find that. But we will probably see the name change in our lifetimes, the Irish potato famine, into something else, because famine implies that there was a blight or war, or rather, largely the work of a draconian export laws that required quotas to be hit, which was exactly what happened. Scholars have begun to categorize it as a genocide, and the case is pretty strong for it. So yeah, Clara was born when Ireland's population fell by nearly a quarter of the population at that point, and it still hasn't reached fully the same population since the start of the famine. It's just barely getting to it like this year, which is nuts.
It's crazy.
It's nuts. So yeah, there's no way Agatha's father didn't see some heinous shit, or at least hear about it, or understand, and probably did something
or
rough.
did it.
Or did it, or realistically. I mean, he was a British officer in Dublin. You don't have to connect the dots there. And I mean, you might have to, but there's maybe 2 or 3 dots, Yeah.
It's not hard to connect the dots.
No. And I don't feel sorry when I say that Clara's father dies off pretty quickly in this story because of the Irish potato famine. His death certificate states that he died of bronchitis, but Agatha and her biographers, or some of them, claim that he died due to a horse riding accident while serving as an officer in the island of Jersey, which is old Jersey, which RIP the Jersey Reds. It was fun watching you beat and play the nation of Russia before the last World Cup they were allowed to play in. Did you hear about that story?
No, I didn't. Is this soccer?
No, this is rugby.
Whoa.
The Jersey Reds, which is not in the Premiership, right? It's in the Championship, so the second tier. When they were there, they weren't even the best team. Beat the nation of Russia as Russia was prepping. It was their preparatory fucking game. Russia did all right that World Cup, actually, overall, but it was an embarrassment.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then it's just another one of those enormous, old school clubs. I wouldn't say the Jersey Reds, but went bankrupt because the English system is ridiculous in rugby. Moving on. So Clara's mother now could only survive off a meager income provided by the British Army for her husband's possible, almost certain, genocidal service, which honestly could be said about most British officers in the British Army in the 19th century stationed anywhere at the time. What would you do now if you aren't as financially stable and you have a couple of daughters you need to feed? That's right, you marry off your daughters.
Oh, I was voting for convent.
At least Clara's older sister does. I need to read this out.
Sound it out, buddy.
I guess this joke doesn't land because what I wrote here, and again, reading this at the time, Clara's older sister, so this is Agatha's aunt, marries a dry goods merchant named Nathaniel Frary Miller. Never mind, now I know where this is going. A widower and an American citizen. The newlyweds decided, so that name, Miller, right? Check it out. The newlyweds decided that they would take on 9-year-old Clara. Keen listeners may have noticed that Agatha's maiden name is the same last name as her aunt's married name. That's because her husband had a son from the first marriage, a boy named Frederick. When they first were married, he was 17, so there's a 12-year gap difference at the time. So if I have my family tree correct here, and this is more connecting the dots than you have to do about the genocide in Ireland. This is like 4 dots. Agatha's father married his younger step-aunt. English upper-middle-class society must have a small batch to choose from. It's very confusing. Fred and Clara would get married in 1878. So Clara was 24 and he was 36. They'd have a daughter, Margaret, nicknamed Madge. And you just don't hear Madge much anymore. And a boy named Louis Montant, nicknamed Monty, which very fucking French, who was born in Morristown, New Jersey. Not important, but just super strangely close to where I grew up. And 10 years later, finally, young Agatha was brought into the world. So Agatha was significantly younger than her two older siblings, and she was a shy girl early on that didn't have a ton of friends until later on in her childhood because of it, I think. Mm-hmm. Any questions so far about this confusing family lineage?
No, I'm just trying to get from dry goods to Ben Shapiro, and I'm coming up short. But
I mean, all you have to say is Madge is probably involved with that. According to her own biographers, Agatha claimed that her mother didn't want her to read until she was 8 years old. Just
must be nice. Must be nice.
Way too late. Way too late to teach a kid how to read. Granted, plenty of illiterate people when they're young learn later, but like they're upper middle class. That's ridiculous. In the late half of the 19th century, when English literature was arguably peaking,
there is a certain amount of cachet in ignorance. I don't need to be bothered with the problems of the world because I am wealthy. So there is a little bit of a social pressure on that.
I mean, fine, but like doesn't really bring up this whole upper crust being better than smarter than you kind of fact or argument they want to tell you if you can't read until you're 8.
I don't need to. I have you do it.
I knew a kid, and this is totally random, but now I'm thinking about it. Growing up, he refused to get his license. And granted, growing up in Jersey, you couldn't get your full license until you were 17, and they want to push that to 18 because the roads are ridiculous there. And a lot of people in it's just highway driving, right?
Yeah.
It's really, it's dangerous.
It's all highway driving.
It's effective. The first time I was in a car driving legally, per se, I didn't ever in my life joyride or steal a car to do that. No, I have never done that. Cough, cough, hint, hint. But like the first time we went on a lesson, we had to go on the highway. They put us right on it immediately. Like, you have to learn this. So that's why it's not still 17. And this story is a divergent all the way. But, like, he refused to learn how to drive because his parents would drive him in his Porsche all the time, and they would get a driver for him once in a while, just hire somebody out. And it's like, that's the kind of privilege you are in. Like, that's kind of, I guess that must be nice. I don't know. The lack of independence is kind of the most un-American thing I can think of. But whatever.
That thought did cross my mind as I was getting my driver's license because all of a sudden I needed to answer the phone and I needed to run errands.
Yeah. I mean, you could also just like go for a ride, go wherever you want to go. Like, that's as bad as driving is for the environment. It's a very American thing to do.
Yeah. I think
it's like, it's literally a quintessential part of our culture.
I think between the cars and the detached family homes, like that, you can't have America without them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, space. It doesn't exist in Europe quite as much as it does here. So, too late to be a kid to be starting at 8 years old, at least in my personal opinion, in my professional opinion as a absolutely unprofessional, immature podcaster. However, she claims that she taught herself how to read by the age of 5, though it's also stated that her father homeschooled her earlier years while they sent her older siblings off to boarding school. Rich people stuff. And at this point, I don't want to be casting dispersions or act dubiously about Agatha's claims, but we now have several different accounts of basic things like her grandfather's death and when and who taught her how to read that are confusing. It's important to note that even at a very young age, Agatha was a great storyteller, and she obviously will be one for the rest of her life. Agatha's imagination was fueled by books. She read Edith Nesbit and Lewis M. Alcott, who the latter is most famous for her book Little Women, as well as reading a ton of poetry. She also read thrillers from the U.S. of motherfucking A, being that she would be tangentially connected to the United States all her life through her father's side of the family. Though, as she gets older, I don't think I have ever heard or read of a more British grandmotherly person in my life. She very much ends up being that stoic, stereotypical grandmother who is upper middle class Brit. And we'll talk about it later. At least that's the perception that we get in the United States. Around 5 years old, the family's American investments began to wane, so they rented out their home, which was, again, had a name, and she lived in France for a bit. Oh gosh, what was the name again? It was
Asheville, right?
Asheville. Yeah, I got to remember Asheville, Tennessee. Thank you. This is the first instance of her traveling to France. And to be honest, my assumptions of Agatha Christie is that she wasn't a well-traveled person early in her life. That's not the case at all. I will have to add an asterisk and obelisk joke here eventually, but like whatever. This is where I wrote that when I was exhausted in July 4th of 2025, and it's the 6th of October.
Why was asterisk and all obelisk in your milieu anyway?
Oh, because it was huge in Poland.
Aha.
Yeah. At least my dad loved it, so we saw it a bunch. We had all these Polish movies with asterisks and obelisks, and then like I don't know. There was only a couple that my dad would get in English because he refused to have that. It was a way to keep teaching Polish to us. Yeah.
But I thought it was a Swedish.
It's French.
Is it?
It's 100% French, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about the Gauls.
Fair enough.
She would move back to, which is another reason why it's probably connected to Poland, because Poland and France have a connection that's pretty long. But she would move back to Torquay, spending the time there, and then would visit her grandmother's regularly in Ealing, which is a residential area of Western London and home of the Ealing Trailfinders, another rugby club who won the championship as of writing this book. England's second division again. 4 times in a row in the last 5 years. The Jersey Reds sneaking in the win there before going bankrupt. So, just bringing that all back. Due to the fact that they actually have a very good team, Davis, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're very, very wealthy, very deep-pocketed owner refuses to get them promoted to the Premiership, even though they should probably at this point, winning 4 out of the 5. But the RFU is also run by an old boys club with incompetent organizational skills of an old boys club, looking to benefit very few. Anyway, I digress. The only reason why they won't come up is because they don't have the stadium capacity. Anyway, she'd visit both Granny B, who is Clara's mother, and Mary Ann Boehmer, which Boehmer is a very German name, and Auntie Granny, Fred's stepmother. Which, yeah, they nailed that last one. Auntie Granny is pretty awesome. No notes. It was during one of these visits, around 11 years old, she wrote her first work, a poem called The Trams. It's about trams. Do you know anything about trams?
Not really, just streetcars.
Okay. I didn't take enough Tylenol in order for you to learn about trams?
No, I can at least look at trains. You can't look at streetcars anymore.
Yeah, I mean they're not around anymore, right?
Yeah.
Well, the train goes right by your house. That's a different story. We almost got interrupted when we started.
No, it's the ghosts of futures missed. Oh, for real? You used to be able to take a streetcar from Portland, Maine to Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Like you'd have to change cars, but you could do it without walking.
Yeah, well, also it would take you 7 weeks, but probably, dude. Those things were like 15, 20 miles an hour. It's like, I mean, I'm just laughing because now I'm envisioning just a different future, like in a different timeline, which I don't believe in different timelines, but like thought experiment here, where instead of people whose parents took too much Tylenol when they were in utero, instead of being obsessed with trains, they're obsessed with trams, and they just like stand around like tram spotting as opposed to train spotting.
Yeah, well, I'm here for it.
Oh God, that's never gonna not be funny.
No,
the Tylenol, the ridiculousness. Holy shit! So I couldn't find a full version of the 4-stanza poem, and it's clearly written by a child on their first attempt. But here's the first one for fun. When first the electric trams did run, in all their scarlet glory, 'twas well, but ere the day was done, it was another story. Yeah, it's 11-year-old. Tragedy hit also when she was 11. So, really got that deep in that, that line. It was another story.
I'm a little disappointed by the AB couplets, but
that's a full-on ballad, Davis. That's AB, 4 lines, At least she's got that for you.
Is that the definition of a ballad?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. So, 11 years old, her father dies. Want to make more jokes about poetry or anything like that? Stanzas?
I can't find something suitably dark. So,
I mean, he died. This is 1901, so I think he missed out on a pretty great century and great.
Oh, he missed out on a great century, but it was probably that ballad that did him in.
The salad ballad or the sad ballad. All right. Oh, that'd be funny. Actually, that's thinking about it, making a whole book about ballads that are about salads. Yeah, that's something that... Yeah.
Kids these days.
I know, right? Do it. Send it this way. lostinthelibrary@gmail.com. lostinthelibrarypodcast@gmail.com. Thank you. Most likely, it was from the 1-2 punch of pneumonia and chronic kidney disease. Agatha claimed that his death marked the death of her childhood. Their budget also just got a lot tighter after that. And from her fan website, I laughed a little when I read, quote, there were money worries and talk of selling Ashfield, but Clara and Agatha found a way forward. So we were making this joke about Asheville. It's Ashfield. Ah, God, that's why you don't write this at 4 a.m. after no sleep and having a 4-month-old. At that point, no, she was like 2. Well, all right, whatever.
I heard Asheville.
I heard Ashfield. It could be either or. It's Ashfield. That's the correct one. Sorry, guys. Which is like, dude, come on. She's 11 years old. What's she doing to help her family financially, right? Like, what, selling lemonade on the corner street, like, street corner? Like, I originally wrote that, then, I had to check the year in 1901. It was smack in the middle of children working in factories and chimney sweeps and that kind of shit. So, like, I guess she could have gone work if she was born in a different class, realistically.
Yeah, and in a different spot. There's always it's always lucrative to be a window knocker.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sure this is going to come up later, but at what point did she start becoming financially viable in her own right, like from her work?
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that. No worries. Great question. Anyway, she wasn't into labor. Her tiny hands would never fit into the small places to help fix the heavy machinery. Instead, she began attending Miss Geyer's girls' school in Torquay. But this being a school for elite children in England, she didn't thrive in the disciplinary environment. Her mother then sent her to what was described as a series of boarding schools in Paris, which isn't in Texas. This one's the French one, where she trained in music for piano and as an opera singer. But she wasn't good enough to become an opera singer, nor was she really exceptional at piano, so she just kind of stopped doing both. She moved back to England after finishing her school, and while she was sick in bed with the influenza, she amused herself by writing her first story. It was called The House of Beauty, a 6,000-word piece about madness and dreams, which 6,000 words is no joke.
No,
that's a pretty good story.
That's a long time.
Yeah, for a girl of her age. In 1910, her mother's health started to fail as well. For her convalescence, her doctor prescribed a different climate, which common back in the day. So Agatha and Clara booked a room at the Gezira Palace Hotel in Cairo for 3 months.
Ooh.
This was a popular destination for wealthy Britons, and Egypt at this time was a veiled protectorate.
I wonder if they had any overlap with the Hesses.
You mean like Herman Hesse?
No, I mean like the other one. No, the other one, the one who flew to Britain like in 1941.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. They were only there for 3 months. So
what the fuck is his name now, though?
Yeah. I'm going to continue, and you're going to remember it, and you're going to shout in the microphone. All right. Because the British wanted control of that sweet, sweet Suez Canal, and it was part of their empire in all but name. She had several marriage proposals, all turned down, but one. And then she finally broke off that engagement. She would return home and basically do what normal people do in her late teens, early 20s. She became far more social, breaking out of her shell, would attend upper crust things like, riding, hunting, roller skating, and would attend country house parties, which is in the U.S. sounds like a fun barn dance around here, but in reality, this means wealthy estates, right? Like, we're not going to the barn dance down in freaking Moortown anytime soon, right?
No, it's probably closer to a Pride and Prejudice type event.
Yeah, absolutely. It's during one of these parties at a dance hosted by Lord and Lady Clifford at Ugbrook. Nonetheless, she met Archibald Christie, and we love a good Archibald on this podcast. Archie here was an early aviator, so maybe. Yeah, there you go.
So, how far outside of the gentry were they? Because it sounds like they were a lot closer than upper middle class.
I mean, upper middle class means something different. Also, like in the United States, for the most part, class systems are a very financially structured
Yeah,
thing.
it's a tax bracket thing for like most of it.
Yeah, that or like a wealth bracket, I would put it, because like there's plenty of people that don't pay income taxes that are up there. But I don't know. It's a little bit of a more confusing concept when you start talking about wealth or like honorary titles in England or Europe. England's definitely not one of the only place that does this. That like, you know, how many Saudi princes have you met in your life because they somehow managed to go to SMC?
At least 3.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and not all of them not all of them were the wealthiest millionaires in the world. Only 2 out of 3 were, in my view. But, you know, it's just one of those things. Early aviator. And joined the Royal Flying Corps in 1913, which is very early to be flying in 1913 in general. Those planes were held together basically by twigs and spit. They soon became engaged, but before they got married, the Scottish rock band Franz Ferdinand got assassinated by some darts of pleasure. And yes, I know they have a song called Bullet, but that's too low of a hanging fruit. That was a funny joke I wrote. Thank you, Phil, for complimenting your past self. And so we get the prequel of the World War, to send a generation of European men to die because inbred cousins beefed over turf. Archie went to go fly his planes, and Agatha volunteered as a nurse at the Red Cross Hospital in Torquay. By all accounts, Archie was an accomplished aviator, and Agatha served as a nurse, first unpaid, and then after a few years was given a small salary of £16 a year for the duration of the war, clocking like it was estimated about 3,400 hours of nursing total. Like, call it what you're going to call it, but that's true bravery, and that's true commitment to your country. Like you're serving your country that way, which is, you know, in its own way remarkable. They got married on Christmas Eve 1914 when Archie was on leave, and he would eventually be promoted and stationed in London by 1918, towards the last year of the war, right? I mean, getting married at 1914, knowing he's an aviator in World War I is just, you know, that's an exceptional thing too, because he could die anytime, right? The fact that he made it 3.5 years is remarkable.
Well, they didn't get guns on the planes until like 2 years into the war. It was really just more. The plane was more likely to kill you than the enemy was until about halfway.
That's
through.
what it means. Twigs and spit, dude. Right? Yeah, they lived there in London after the war, and the Christies had their only child, Rosalind Margaret Clarissa Christie, in 1919. It was also during the war that thousands of refugees would start to settle England, and many of them from Belgium. One of these was a former Belgian policeman who became one of the inspirations to Agatha's best-known character, Detective Hercule Poirot. He was first featured in The Mysterious Affairs at Styles, Christie's first detective novel, and he would be featured in 33 other novels in total, 2 plays, and 51 short stories.
Out of how many?
Dude, I wrote it somewhere.
Hundreds?
It's hundreds. But this is the character that's written about the most.
No, he's the one who still has play now.
Yeah, Poirot is said to have, quote, exactly the shape of an egg, quote, of a head, and had, quote, magnificent mustaches, unquote, which, if you can say anybody has a magnificent mustache, that's pretty fun. They're just great images. The Mysterious Affair at Styles was first written in 1916, but John Lane at the Bodley Head finally accepted it, and it was only so Bodley Head was the publishing agency.
Publishing house.
Yeah, it was first published in 1920. She would write a second novel called The Secret Adversary in 1922, which earned her £50, or about £3,400 today. Like, I read £50 like that's nothing, but like
no, it's huge.
Yeah, $3,500 for a novel isn't a lot for a novel. Don't get me wrong, but then again, like, you would take it. just for the publication's sake. And then a third novel was published again in 1923, officially establishing her as an author who had no difficulty in getting published anymore. By 1922, Agatha and Archie left their 3-year-old daughter with relatives and embarked on what was dubbed the Grand Tour. And now I'm really reconsidering where the spin-off name from the Top Gear exhibition got it, right?
Oh, well, they said it in the first 5 minutes of the reboot.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, that was an Agatha Christie. Okay.
Well, no, it's not an Agatha Christie thing. Agatha Christie is writing about a common rumspringa for the upper classes in that age of Europe.
Okay. Well, the more you learn. This was a worldwide promotional tour for the British Empire exhibition at the peak of the British Empire, basically, right, in 1922. And they traveled to places like Canada. They traveled to Hawaii, though I know this is a U.S. territory at this point, but it's important to know for later parts. New Zealand, Australia, and of course the tour started off, guess what colony, Davis?
South Africa.
Oh, you nailed it. Yes. Yeah. Where all her website says is that she learned how to surf in Cape Town and stated nothing about that apartheid state at the time. When she returned home, she got a new publisher, William Collins and Sons, now known as HarperCollins. Yeah, very famous. The couple also bought a house in Sunningdale, Berkshire, which they renamed Styles after the mansion in Christie's first novel. So, yeah.
So, how far past Arthur Conan Doyle are we with the first of the Poirot novels?
You know what? Probably like 50 years. Probably less than that. Actually, much less than that, because that was the 1880s.
It would be interesting.
No, because he had to have written. He's a contemporary. He predates her, but he's also contemporary because he still writes throughout World War I into almost World War II. It was published in the 30s.
He was a homie with Houdini, like right when he was dying.
Yeah, and I mean, he basically kicked Aleister Crowley out of England.
No shit.
Yeah, he didn't do that, but the society that they were both somehow involved in helped do it. You know, like it's there's a direct core connection between those two. He fucking hated Aleister Crowley. Yeah,
but it would be interesting to do an A/B comparison between Poirot and Holmes.
You know, that's a good point, because I'm going to talk about a little bit about her writing in general. Just a little bit, because, again, I only know like a couple of her books, but, you know, there's enough works online to describe how she writes. So, everything wasn't groovy, baby. In April of 1926, Agatha's mother finally passes away. She was very close to her mother. A couple of months later, Archie asked Agatha for a divorce as well. He had fallen in love with another woman. Now, stress and depression from these developments amounted. On December 3rd, 1926, Archie and Agatha had a verbal fight. Right? They had an argument. Nothing was physical. And Archibald stated he'd be crashing at his friend's house for the weekend. That is what AgathaChristie.com has to say about what transpired next now. Quote, Agatha left Rosalind and the house to the care of the maids without saying where she was going. Her car was found abandoned the next morning several miles away. A nationwide search ensued. The press and public enjoyed various speculations as to what might have happened and why, but no one knew for sure. It eventually transpired that Agatha had somehow traveled to King's Cross Station, where she took the train to Harrogate and checked into the Swan Hydropathic Hotel, now as known as Old Swan Hotel, under the name of Teresa Neal, previously of South Africa. Having been recognized by members of the hotel band who alerted the police, she did not recognize Archie when he came to meet her. Possibly concussed and suffering from amnesia, Agatha had no recollection of who she was. An intensely private person, made even more so by the hue and cry of the press, Agatha never spoke of this time with friends or family, unquote. And when it is stated she never spoke of this time, she completely leaves it out of her own autobiography as well. some doctors say that she fucking pulled a Walter White and the stress caused a fugue state. Something just like Heisenberg had done, right? But then again, I'm sure that the story involving trying to poison Tuco with ricin and your dim-witted, meth-addicted cooking partner screwing their chance when he says their special ingredient was chili powder because Tuco hates chili powder. Remember that? Probably wasn't the motive of the fugue state.
Yeah.
There wasn't a massive shootout.
It does beg the question how much of it she contrived herself versus actual lost time.
Yeah, it also, begs the question of how many lowriders were involved, too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How much hydraulics were in that carriage or the car? I mean, if she added hydraulics, it's probably why it crashed. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, who knows? It's an interesting fact of her life that it's enormous too. It's very important that she went into this fugue state and doesn't remember. The couple separated and would eventually divorce by 1928. 1 week after the divorce, Archie marries Nancy Neal. The woman he fell in love with, right? So I said Teresa Neal. I think I messed up there. It's Nancy Wheel because Teresa was the person I was writing this for originally. Sorry again, Teresa. Around the same time as she was recuperating from this amnesiac episode, she began to develop another character. This one based off her step-grandmother, also known as Auntie Granny, Margaret Miller. Miss Jane Marple first appeared in a short story in December of 1927 called The Tuesday Night Club, and later in her full-length novel in 1930 called The Murder at Vicarage. The early versions of Miss Marple are different than the latter, but she's a very shrewd and intelligent detective that solves cases by drawing from an infinite pool of experiences from previous cases. It's like kind of a wank bank, but for horrific crimes. I'm going to make that joke. Jeez. Okay.
Fair enough.
She'd be involved with about a dozen novels, as many and more short stories, basically. But returning back to 1928, and at the age of 38, Agatha would leave England, and she would ride on a train called the Orient Express. This train went from Istanbul to Baghdad. A lot of the territory at that point was under the British Protectorate. She makes this trip twice, being invited by Leonard Woolley as a friend and a guest. And Leonard Woolley was the person who identified and helped excavate the Sumerian city of Ur.
Ooh.
Yeah. You may be familiar with the name because this is one of the oldest cities ever. The second time she went on this train with Leonard Woolley. She met an archaeologist named Max Malawan, who was working with Woolley and was 13 years younger than her at the time. They fell in love. It's like a Sarkozy fucking love story, realistically. And were married in Edinburgh on 9/11, 1930. Missing that by 91 years.
Yep.
81.
So
My
close.
math is wrong. Yeah, completely
so
wrong.
Close.
So close. Agatha would keep her name because at this point she was a very well-known author. I mean, she was world famous.
How many books at this point?
I didn't write it down.
How many publications?
Plenty. I have dozens easily. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of funny that obviously we're talking about British excavators here, so who the fuck knows how well of a job they did. I'm curious about what Yatsig would have to say about it because, he knows about this stuff. But yeah,
I know they trashed Troy, but
I mean, of course they trashed Troy. Everybody trashes Troy. That's like a time-honored tradition to trash Troy. To trash Tolstoy. Sorry. Fucking stupid joke. That was so dumb. It's true that her detective novels, though. Oh, actually, the 1930s was a happy and productive time for Agatha. Some of her most well-known novels came at this period, like The ABC Murders and Murder on the Orient Express, of course. She was also prolific, writing and publishing between 2 to 3 books a year. This
wow.
time period was known as the golden age for detective fiction, and people couldn't get enough of it, right? Like, I think this is the tail end of Arthur Conan Doyle's life here, or writing, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be mistaken again. Not only, damn, it's been a while. I've literally read every Sherlock Holmes book, but it's been a bit since I finished that. Not only was she publishing a ton, her books were selling like hotcakes at dinner. It's hotcakes at a diner. That's what it says. Not at dinner. You don't sell hotcakes at dinner.
What even are hotcakes?
They're basically smaller pancakes.
Oh.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Flapjacks. She also began to publish under a pseudonym named Mary Westmacott or Westmacott. It's probably Westmacott. As she kind of fell into the same trap as Stephen King in their genres. Similar genres, not exactly the same, where she felt like she was too popular at her time, and she didn't have any room left for experimentation. In total, she wrote 6 novels under this pseudonym, and like I kind of get it if you're too popular. Like Stephen King did this, we have to reference J.K. Rowling as well, who's currently doing it too. Like they just want to experiment and do something different.
Is there quite a gulf between works published under her own name and works published under her pseudonym?
I can't say that because I didn't read anything by that. I know that under Stephen King there isn't as big of a gulf as you expect, and I'm going to kind of chat about this right now because it's true that her detective novels absolutely had a formulaic approach to them. Author Dilys Wynne called Christie, quote, the doyen of coziness, Doyenne. Do you know how to pronounce doyen?
No.
I don't know. Yeah.
That one's new to me.
Yeah, same. And again, I should have reread this beforehand, but here we are raw dogging. Her style was, quote, featured a small village setting, a hero with faintly aristocratic family connections, a plethora of red herrings, and the tendency to commit homicide with sterling silver letter openers and poisons imported from Paraguay, unquote. Which, I mean, if it works, it works.
Yeah.
Like, it was incredibly popular. There's absolutely a formulaic way of a Conan Doyle's characters, right, with Sherlock Holmes. There are a couple of times it doesn't. I don't think there is with Stephen King. I've only read a couple of things by him, but like things start to get really crazy with the amount of cocaine in your bloodstream as he had in his life. So, very different.
And it seems like he didn't really use stock characters to the same extent that Christie did.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are some series and there are some recurring themes and characters, but like again, I've talked about it a couple times, and I don't know if Agatha Christie can get away with a child orgy at the end of the book. Excuse me, gangbang.
Of course she could. She's upper class Brit.
She just can't write about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I might have to cut that out. Sorry, work. I started sharing like writings and music, and like people are finding it at work, and like I'm a little nervous about the podcast. However, the salad days have to come to an end because of Nazis. Nothing we're living with currently.
Yep.
Nazis tend to spoil everything, don't they? Don't they, Davis?
They tend to spoil most things.
Yeah. Agatha and her husband at this point moved to an even nicer house in Devon. This one now called Greenway. In 1940, the house opposite theirs was bombed. Being on the English Channel during the battle over Britain, it wasn't the safest place in the world. So they moved to a flat north of London called, it was in Hampstead. Not called Hampstead, it was in Hampstead in London. And though there was a literal world war happening, her productivity did not wane. There was a book that would eventually be known as And Then There Were None was written. This is what her website has to say about that book. Quote, published at the onset of the war in 1939, it reflects the somber mood of the population with its dark subject matter and claustrophobic atmosphere, unquote. We will talk a little bit more about this book in a bit, but to put a pin on it, we have to do that because this is arguably her most successful book of all time. And hot diggity dog, is there a story behind this? Now, Davis, we're about 6 pages in out of a 7-page script. Do you have any questions about Agatha's life yet? 5 pages in. We're on page 6.
Well, it's more about her work. I seem to have her pegged as a locked room mystery writer. Is like that pretty much accurate, or did she branch out?
Her personal work, yeah. She travels a ton. That's the. It's not fair to say that she was a recluse in any way.
Yeah. Well, those aren't mutually exclusive. Like a locked room is you are presented with all you need to. You're presented with all the information you need to solve the mystery because there is no outside inputs. It's like you roll up to a country manor like for a party, and then all of a sudden after dinner someone dies at the party and no one's come in or out.
Yeah. It's similar to Clue in that way, for sure. There's some inferences, I would say, in A. Conan Doyle's work or Sir A. Conan Doyle's work that you have to kind of like understand too, but like it's not that far off. Yeah, it's mystery. It's English British mystery at that time. Is it's good. It's good reading. Like I enjoyed everything that I read in this genre and this time. So, yeah. So Agatha would work at the pharmacy at University College Hospital in London during the war. Her daughter would marry, but the person that she married was stationed in Libya and became a casualty and died in 1943.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm curious about who killed her, though. Probably either Italians or Americans.
Well, I mean,
realistic.
that's like if a casualty in Libya in 1943. That's pretty late.
Yeah, it's probably might have been the Americans by accident. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's that theater of war.
Yeah, it had to have been early 1943.
I mean, who knows? I mean, it still could be Italians. I don't know because the Nazis aren't down there.
Oh,
right?
The Nazis are down there.
They are.
They're basically the core of what's down there, and then like there are more Italians, but it's the Nazis who are actually effective.
Well, you could say that about most theaters of that war, right?
Yeah.
At least on the Axis side. In Europe, excuse me. I'm not going to ignore fucking Japan being Japan. After the war, Agatha slowed down her production, though. She aimed for one book a year, and the phrase "a Christie for Christmas" became popular. So, she would start publishing around Christmas. It's
clever.
It is clever, right? Like, I mean, I don't know, like Agatha Christie for Christmas, like, she's a pop writer in so many ways at this point,
Is there such a thing as pop writing back then that's not a pulp novel?
Agatha Christie. I mean, they're basically pulp novels. Well, define pulp novels.
I mean,
that's a
I
different
guess
question.
I guess the definition really is just the amount of. I guess for me, the definition of a pulp novel is: are you going to put a cover over the book or not?
Oh well, yeah. I mean, Agatha Christie here, but also like I don't know, pulp novels in the physical sense. Are more popular in the United States because of just practicality, right? Like, I mean, we had the resources in order for us to have pulp fiction in that way. Yeah, maybe we'll talk about actual pulp fiction one of these days, but we covered it a little bit on.
No, I know it's not. I know it's not 1-to-1, but like occupying the same sort of consumer niche.
It literally at a certain point is the product of product available, right? So, yeah. A lot of her books began being translated, as well as being turned into plays and then screenplays, because this is at the time in the 40s, right? Books are becoming movies.
Which country bought her work the most?
Britain.
Well, yeah, outside of the Anglosphere.
I actually don't know. That's a good question. I have no clue. That's a great question. I mean, honestly, it probably was translated into French, and Poirot being
Flemish or French.
I thought the Flemish actually spoke French. Is that that part of
I don't know.
Belgium?
You get into
Is that the other part of yeah. Oh, sorry, Jesus! This is the dumb American sides of us. Usually, we're pretty good at this.
There's the Walloons and the Flems.
Aren't the Walloons?
The Walloons are French.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of her books began being translated, as I said. So she pretty much settled down and would, still travel from time to time, but not at the same rate as she once did because she's getting older. She's in her 50s at this point, and also like it's Britain after World War II. It's not necessarily the most economically viable place in the world, though she was pretty well off. In Europe in general, not
a great spot to be.
Yeah, no. She once said in the Sydney Morning Herald, quote, "My chief dislikes at this time are crowds, loud noises, gramophones, and cinemas. I dislike the taste of alcohol and do not like smoking. I do like sun, sea, flowers, traveling, strange foods, sports, concerts, theaters, pianos, and doing embroidery.
Nerd.
Like, very old British woman. Like, the only thing that kind of makes me feel weird, like, is it's the sports and like concerts in theaters, but like it's probably
no, the sport she's talking about, I guarantee you, is horse racing.
Yeah, or like fucking tennis, maybe. That's the most. Maybe cricket is the only team sport she actually watched. In 1955, Agatha Christie did a really shrewd move. She formed Agatha Christie Limited in order for her to hold the rights for a lot of her works. This will be important when we will talk about her estate shortly.
Why did she need to incorporate? Because I thought with intellectual property, like, you have it regardless. It's only if you're in a position to do damages to somebody where you need to indemnify yourself.
That's a recent thing, and also we talked about shortly, and we'll talk about this again in a few points here. But like, when you sold your book, and it still happens to this day, to a publisher,
they have the rights.
They have the rights to it for £50 or whatever, $3,400. They have the rights for it, right? Like it was very common back in the day. But before then, in 1956, before we get to why this was important, she was appointed Commander of the Order of the British Empire during the New Year honors. This also is known as the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, which is so fucking British, and it was awarded for her service in literature. By 1961, she was awarded an honorary doctorate of literature by the University of Exeter, which is in Devon. So if it's in Devon, then in Exeter, that means she's Cornish. Fuck. Okay. That whole thing, everybody who's from fucking Cornwall, if the 3 people listening to here, sorry, apologies about that.
Yeah. What, do you have much play in Cornwall?
No, I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe if I talk more about fucking, I don't know, the Exeter Chiefs, I will. Exeter Chiefs, known for the fact that they had a Native American headdress symbol up until like 2020, and finally 2021, it was a dope symbol. I actually kind of really want to get their lavender fucking jersey with the symbol, because
those were nice.
Yeah, they were great. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not the people who fought against them, namely Native Americans, did not like it. But like, I also grew up in a place called Waunakee, and they did not fucking hold off on the Waunakee Chief symbol anywhere. But yeah, okay. So the rugby club, the Exeter Chiefs, that play in the Premiership, used to have that Native American symbol, is what I wrote. Look at that. We already had that conversation. It was in 2021. Look at that. The rugby part isn't important, but the racism part might be shortly, Davis.
I'm sure.
Yeah, because we're going to have to talk about that. Before that, she won probably the most massive, important award a British person can get. Because in 1971, at the age, I believe this is 81, yes it is, Christie was promoted to Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire, DBE, by Queen Elizabeth the Dose, or the Second. Doses and Queen Elizabeth mimosas. So her fully honorific at this point, forever, is going to be Dame Agatha Mary Clarissa Christie,
CBE,
Lady Malowan.
Oh,
it's DBE.
Between, like, Mary Shelley never got that sort of societal acclaim, did she?
I don't know about that. I don't think so.
Or like the Brontes. Like, is she like the first female literary marquee, I guess?
I mean, she could be. I mean, it's exceptional. It's absolutely exceptional. I mean, the award itself is unbelievable, right? I don't know. It would be like, until recently, getting the Medal of Freedom or medal in the United States.
So I guess
until very recently.
Did she ever consider publishing under a pseudonym? Well, I mean, she did when she was trying to branch out, but did she ever consider publishing under like a male pseudonym, like for like play, or was that past that point?
No, I don't think she ever did. It never came up. And if she might have, it didn't really matter. Because, like, yeah, it is another rare fact that a woman wrote underneath her name and was very successful. And this isn't to say that, sometimes when this happens, like, I mean, you mentioned the Brontes, but like a lot, I mean, it's different now, but even still to this day, like literary nerds, a lot of the people who really respect the Brontes tend to be, female more than male. But like Agatha Christie kind of like doesn't have that like gender divide. And if there is a slight one, it's still slight, which is, again, impressive. Christie's last years were in Winterbrook, a country town west of London. Towards the very end of her life, it is believed that she began to develop Alzheimer's and then dementia. And she never played rugby, Davis.
CTA is a joke.
Fairly recently. Though this isn't confirmed, right? Like, dementia wasn't as well known back then. She passed away on January 12th, 1976. And the death certificate says of natural causes at the age of 85, right? She lived a pretty long life, especially for somebody who survived both world wars and was a nurse for both of them.
Yep.
So.
Oh, she was a nurse in World War II too?
Yeah, she worked partially at the pharmacy at University College Hospital in London. Now, how successful really was Agatha Christie is a question that we need to ask. She's still a household name today. People know who Agatha Christie is. Like, that's not...
Yeah, people know who Agatha Christie is without knowing who Agatha Christie is.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I honestly, when I first heard of Agatha Christie as a child, I thought she was still alive.
Yeah, like, it's a name that is, like, untethered to anything beyond, like, untethered to time. It's just...
Yeah, exactly. According to UNESCO's Index Translitone... Oh, this is a fun word because it's made up. Translitonium. It's T-I-O-N-U-M. So it's like translation, but it's like whatever. Translitonium. It's fucking close enough. She's the most translated individual author ever. Her books have been published in 44 different languages. In one day in 1948, Penguin published 10 of her books and made 100,000 copies of each book. That's 1 million copies from one author published in one day.
So what is a typical production run of a successful author?
I mean, it depends on that's not an easy question to ask, and I don't really have a good answer for that.
So okay, so what would the entry level production run be?
I mean, again, that's not even a good one either. I don't know. Like, as somebody who's been published, like I need to sell 100 copies of my book before I can even start thinking about making money back off of it. And it's been out for a year, and I'm getting close. But I haven't gotten that yet.
So let's say you got an entry level contract with Penguin. What would they put out?
You wouldn't do that.
No.
Yeah, but sorry, Penguin's just not a good example.
Yeah. Well, so what would be Schuster and Schuster, or?
Yeah, just what a better example would be a subsidiary of Penguin. Who gives a shit? There's tons of them. I don't know. Like if they sold 1,000 copies, like in your brand new author, that's pretty good.
So like they wouldn't even think about printing anything more than 1,000, like right off the bat.
Yeah. No, if you're brand new and like they're taking a chance on you, which they don't anymore. Yeah. They really don't. You're very rare. It does happen, but it's not a thing that you would expect, right? Like it was more common back before the internet age, for sure. Her play, The Mousetrap, so yes, she did write plays from time to time, is the world's longest-running play being performed in the West End of London. Guess when it started?
54.
Close, 1952. She also remains UK's best-selling audiobook or spoken word author ever. As of 2018, the Guinness Book of World Records says she is the most sold author of all time with an estimated of... All right, you want to guess?
Total copies sold.
She's
I'm gonna go 20 million.
She's the second most. Sorry, but the first most doesn't really count. So,
what is it? Fucking Mark, Luke, and John?
No, but that's a funny joke, and it's not John. John was a separate author, but yeah, that's a gospel reference, guys. Guess again. That's way too low.
Ooh, I don't even know.
2 to 4 billion copies.
Jesus Christ.
2 to 4 billion. The only person who comes close to this is William fucking Shakespeare.
Goddamn. And who knows if that was even one person?
Yeah, I mean, the argument it isn't at this point. Yeah, and Matthew, Mark, and Luke obviously might have gotten it more. The Bible is the most sold thing in the world, right? Who knows? Other than bread, but
where is she on total word count? Like, she's got to be up there.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Which brings me to her most sold book ever, and then there was none, and then there were none, which sold over 100 million copies and is the most best-selling crime book of all time. Remember when we talked about that in the 1940s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we need to spoil some of this success, Davis, because critics of Agatha Christie have stated that many of her portrayals of non-Western European people are pretty fucking racist.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they have a point, because, and then there were none. Do you want to guess the title of this book before it was changed? It's so much worse than you would expect. It's awful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to say it, but like
the original title was in 1939. 1939, 10 Little N-Words.
Oh, Jesus, I was closer than I thought.
Yes.
At least use pseudoscientific nomenclature.
It was named after a minstrel song written in 1869, and the song itself serves a massive role in the book's plot, not the plot's book. I'm sorry, I'm a little shook.
Yeah,
I forgot about this until I wrote this. This has nothing to do why she chose the name, but the group that wrote the fucking song is Christie's Minstrels too. So spelled slightly different, and it has no relationship, but Edwin Pierce Christie, so it's CHRISTY as opposed to IE, which is her last name, was the leader, and they 110%.
Wait, is this the new Christie's Minstrels? Like the green is green, they say, on the far side of the hill?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the most successful minstrel shows of all American history. They 155,634.75% did racist as motherfucking shit stuff, like, of course, going blackface. So she had to have known, like, what they were doing, right? It was racist.
Course.
Like, that's, I don't know. It's just, it's baffling. Still, and somehow, the U.S. of motherfucking A was like, we can't use this title. Like, we just can't publish this.
We can't do this.
This is before the Civil Rights Act, too, which is kind of impressive.
We're still hoping some of them will buy this.
Jesus Christ. And that's like when it got changed to, and then there were none. But the book would still be published in the United Kingdom in its original title, as well as other titles as 10 Little Soldiers for so long. And then it would be changed to 10 Little Indians, which the name is also very original.
Yeah, not better.
Very racist, right? That part comes from an American nursery rhyme. And though the term Indian isn't inherently racist in this context, it is. The reason why Indian is like a little bit more okay to say is because some Native American tribes can still refer to themselves as American Indians. I'm not going to fucking like talk to you about...
That's not my place to engage in that discourse.
No, that's just absolutely not. And also, like, you know, we talked about the Exeter Chiefs here just a second ago. Like, I just would love to go to Devon and try to have a conversation about how they refer to Native Americans over there, just in context. But, you know, whatever. Like, nothing against like people from Exeter in general. So it's just, I'm curious. What do you think was the last time that they published of the original title was, Davis? What year or what decades?
Oh, 87.
Yeah, it was the 80s. It was the fucking 80s. This bears a question that I'm sure a lot of people have asked because I saw it plenty of times. Was Agatha Christie racist?
Of course she was.
My answer is most likely, probably, allegedly, right? Based on her upbringing, she lived in upper crust of English society and at its absolute zenith, you know, so the puzzle pieces probably fit being that, she was less sensitive to races, to say the best. Literally, if you type up Agatha Christie, because I did this when I was writing this, about a dozen threads on her own subreddit come up, and like, as was Agatha Christie, and the first thing was racist, was what I went up. Again, this is my, personal Google experience, but almost anybody or everybody has a similar answer on her personal subreddit that I was reading. So these are her fans. It was like, yeah, she definitely had more than a number of characters with stereotypical features and attributes that were very much racists, and I won't recite them here because, again, they're pretty bad. I read some of them about Arabs, about Jewish people, and boy howdy are they not the best. But it's okay to still enjoy the books, in my view, because if you can acknowledge the fact that there was a racist trope, it's still like, the acknowledgement doesn't necessarily make the writing okay, but like, it's still a part of history, right? Like, you have to freaking understand that, right?
The art from the artist and all that.
Yeah. And sure, like, most of her content is totally okay, right? Like, it's not like every other word she's writing is fucking racist as shit. What I find morally gray right now is that her estate is trying to edit most of these passages for more sensitive readers. And though you shouldn't ever have a book called, the most famous book that she ever wrote, which is even more absurd. That's the most absurd part about it. Like,
I mean, I'm a little torn. Like, you absolutely should not be editing the N-word out of Huckleberry Finn, because that is that's a time capsule. Agatha Christie doesn't seem like a time capsule in the same way. It more seems like a pastime.
That's the argument that we need to have, right? It goes against the historical importance of how these books were published, right? And like what people thought were okay back in the day. However, like, you want to reach a more broader audience of a story that isn't as offensive to public knowledge today. Like, it's that Disney story right now, right? Like, I don't know. I fully understand more so Disney putting a disclaimer about racist stereotypes that they put on cartoons that they had in the 30s more than I understand them trying to change it.
Oh, that's a spirited defense of Steamboat Willie.
Steamboat Willie isn't even close to what I was even referring to, but yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Now I get the joke. Sorry, Davis. I guess there are examples where you should change some things. Like, there really are. You need to change the title.
Yeah.
That's fucking ridiculous that you got away with that. And like, honestly, like, the Brits should feel ashamed that Americans in the 30s and 40s said this was not okay. Like what the fuck?
For real.
What the fuck? Like, what? So yeah. That's the story of the most best-selling author. Like, even her fans are like, "Holy shit!"
God,
sometimes this went too far.
That's a real collar puller there.
Yeah. To finish off, her daughter owns like 30% of her estate, which is why she made Agatha Christie Limited. Remember when I said that? Mm-hmm. It was to protect her family, so that way, like, her family can still own. I mean, granted, this now means that her family are basically multimillionaire billionaires forever, and it's inherited wealth. Maybe the UK does a little bit better than the United States. Not anymore, I guess. So, like, they fucking cut a lot of those taxes off. And
the UK is the quintessence of inherited wealth.
Yeah, well, France was, right?
Yeah.
Before that, I don't know. Looking at you, Spain too. Up in Austria, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, there's a Habsburg literally racing an F1. He's funny. He's a funny dude. But
Eduardo.
Yeah. So the book publisher called Booker Books owns the vast majority of her estate. And, like, I'm sure we will keep getting new content based off her books, Davis. Like, what else are you going to do?
Well, there's a movie that's currently on HBO is basically a retread of it. It literally takes place during a performance of The Mousetrap.
When I first learned about that book, about how offensive it was, again, from, like, because this is just the kind of subreddits I follow, and like I like the one that was sponsored was Agatha Christie's, and and it's like, oh, this popped up again. I found this at a bookstore. It was published in 1984. It was like, what the fuck is going on?
Jesus.
You guys need to calm the shit down over there.
And that's got to be like a third edition at that point.
The 80s?
Yeah.
Davis, that's probably like the 10th or 15th.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, realistically, it was published in the 30s, 40s, right? 1939. You skip, let's just skip 2 years each time. Like, okay, let's say 10. Yeah.
Fuck.
No, 20 if I'm doing that math.
Yeah, no, on that math, it's 20.
Yeah, well, there you go. Sources, AgathaChristie.com. Most of it came from there. Agatha Christie, a biography by Janet Morgan. The Sydney Herald, a variety of wiki articles included Agatha Christie. And then there were none. Devin Torkey. Publishing I'm going to plug my Patreon on this one. It's Lost in the Library Podcast on Patreon. Also, any questions, please send them to lostinthelibrarypodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram. Again, Lost in the Library there. I have a Substack where it's so hard to develop, but it's at Fil Deptula. I also just dropped an album, Fertile Soil. Let's be honest, this is good enough. That one is not in development. We finally got that out there. I'm probably going to have a new theme song or change it or probably publish this with that music. Otherwise, I don't know, a storied past to a woman who absolutely kind of changed the way that women can pave the way that women can write, because I don't know how many other people could publish the way that she could underneath her name, especially in Britain. It's not, again, the most feminist society at the time. And then you have to reckon with some of the past parts of it. Yeah.
For real.
Any questions, Davis?
No questions. I'd just like to plug the New England Referee Society. Oh, man, do we need some better refs.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. You have to actually go out and take the courses, Davis, and learn how to the laws of rugby.
I know the rules.
Well, the laws. You already failed that because they're not rules or laws.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. When you have a game that has more laws than any other sport, things tend to be really challenging. I say that as somebody who passed the test. There's no test. It's that you just get the fucking butt badge.
Yep.
At least in New England. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.